on opening the sutra. The Dharma in humbly profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Good morning, everybody. May we realize the Tathagata's true meaning indeed. There's more happening than what's obvious. But just because it's not obvious doesn't mean it's not happening. In fact, some of the more important things to happen are not so obvious. So do not judge your practice. Waste no time with this. You can reliably outsource that to the teachers. There's an app for that. So, you think your practice is doing good? Very lovely. Don't cling to it. You think your practice is, okay, fine. Don't cling to that. You think your practice is that of a schmo? Don't cling to that either. That sensation, that feeling, that judgment is just another gurgle rising in the field of mind. See, acknowledge it, and what do? Let it go. Yeah, follow the instructions. Oh, except unless you feel bad, then make a fortress around it and burn offerings to it. You know? Unless you feel really good, then hoard that and keep a hold of that one. Right? Shore that up so it doesn't be impermanent. It's actually ridiculously simple, is it not? A couple of days of session, things become very clear. Thus, a couple of days of session, please. So, yesterday, we began the teaching of nirvana in which there is no substrate left behind, which, again, ironically, is not elucidated in the sutra itself, but which one was produced for us. You might remember that this is having to do with traces, is the language I chose to use. Right? And in the sutra at this point, it's being applied to thoughts of nirvana for oneself exclusively, as opposed to emancipation for all beings, including yourself, by the way. This is not martyrdom. Just to be very, very clear, you do not sacrifice yourself into a life of suffering so that others might have a better day. No, no. No, you're one of the beings, very much. It's just not all about you. Of course, there's nothing but you. Of course, there's no you. So, one of the fruits of practice that begins to reveal itself is that this excruciating obsession with me and mine and I, which is excruciating, okay? This begins to erode. This self-centered, self-oriented way of perceiving the universe. And although it's true that there is no self, no permanent self-existent self, it's very real for us, is it not? And if you really are able to still yourself and pay exquisite attention, you see quite clearly, very, very clear, the root cause of all this suffering, this dukkha, is none other than that self-sense. Nearly infinite manifestations, but one simple root, one simple cause. For example, perhaps you can imagine a person in the Zendo, let's say a fictitious person, of course. You all are. But a truly fictional person. And let's just say this poor person is really suffering, and they actually think that everyone in the room is actually thinking about them the whole time. Can you imagine the tragedy of this, the terror of it? You imagine this as you. You walk into the room and you really think, you seriously think everybody's thinking about you. The way you walk in, everybody's judging your balance, your clothes, they're judging you if it's askew or askance. Your eye contact, oh, what did that mean? I knew it. I was not paying attention, I knew it. You know what I mean? And just living in this world where you really think that everybody is actually knows that your fingernail is clipped in not perfectly and cares about it. And so you sit there in this drama. It's excruciating. Is it real? No, nobody's thinking about you. Nobody's thinking about you. And if they are, so what? But for that person trapped in this fictitious mind that I'm creating here, it's excruciatingly painful. This pressured sense of self and the judgment of it. Real for the person. No basis in truth, no basis in reality. The classic analogy is always that of the dream being chased by the tiger. This is an ancient way to describe it, you know. You're just dreaming. It's real for you in the moment of experiencing that dream, but the truth is you're cozy in bed. This is a very good analogy because it doesn't deny one's experience, but it simply contextualizes it clearly. And the same thing, though, it's not just dreams, it's actually the way you move through the day. Like what you think is going on, like the way you perceive what's happening minute by minute by minute, drama by drama. It's everything to do with this me, mine, I, until it no longer does. It's quite possible to walk into this room and make a wonderful bow and take your seat and be completely unconcerned that everyone's critiquing your posture or whatever. You could do that. That's like awakening. You can do that. It's your natural state. And interestingly, if you're in that natural state, if the monitor, say, does come up and correct your posture, do you have a catastrophe over it? No, you just correct your posture and you're grateful for the correction. Because your posture needs a little tweak here and it feels better. It's not an assault on your selfhood. It's helping you. So then everything becomes fuel for awakening. Once awakening is there. Deluded mind? Imagine this person who actually is fantasizing, everybody's critiquing them all the time, and they actually get a real correction. Well, now, this is just an unbearable catastrophe of life. They'll carry this for years. The trauma. You wounded me. You dare correct my posture. How could you have? Where is that coming from? You see, this is the ultimate mastery here. You are the master. Maybe sometime you would rather be the slave, because then maybe sometime you fantasize you're the slave, you're not responsible for anything, but I tell you this is not true. It's not an option. No, you're a dragon. You're no sheep. You're a dragon. And dragons need training too. So maybe more realistic example. This is going to be great. I've got this on my calendar for months and months. Here it is. I've saved up all my chips, my vacation days. I'm going to go to Rahatsu. It's going to be amazing. And then the day comes. Oh no, I have a sore throat. Right? My Rahatsu parade got rained on. Fair enough for a minute. Fair enough for a minute. Of course you're going to have feelings come in response. Yeah, it's a drag to, we've had a number, 3 practitioners make it here, and then they got to leave. And look, that sucks. I totally get it. But good for your practice. Great for your practice. You have an ideal Rahatsu practice. The practice of no. Good. I arranged it so. For your benefit. Yeah? The practice of rain on parade. Perfect. Look, here's one of the guiding principles, okay? And you really take this in. Whatever happens in the container of sesshin is exactly what you need. Okay? That's an core operating principle. Whatever happens in sesshin is exactly what you need. And the Dharma will not abandon you. It'll show up as a deposition you can't reschedule. It'll show up as a cold you can't shake and you need to go home. Or it'll show up as a perfectly executed schedule. It'll show up in a dokusan going just the way you expect. Well, fancy the odds of that. But I tell you, I have always had as my guiding principle, whatever happens at sesshin is exactly what I need. And it's always been true. Since from 18 years old to now. Never fails. This truth never has failed me once. There was one time, I don't know when this was, but we had, the only opportunity we had was once a season. There was a sesshin, that was it. So if you didn't make that sesshin, you're waiting half a year. So the good thing about that, a lot of pressure to make it, right? But we made it I don't know, not through Pennsylvania, and there was floods or something. And literally, the interstate and everything flooded out, and we literally couldn't go any further. We had to stop. And so we had Isabella, Ryuka, then Isabella, however big she was, and stuck in this regrettable motel in the backwoods of Pennsylvania somewhere. But you know what? It was a perfect session. It was this, for us, the session of no. No. Now, practice. Okay. We went through the crucible of the local Walmart. Seeking provisions amongst the orcs. Anyway, point being, okay, for the serious Zen practitioner, for the serious, walker of the path, for one who is on the way, walking, a person of the way, okay. Even what objectively is a complete, catastrophic interruption into the plan is exactly what you need. And if you take it that way, you can use it that way. Well, Roshi was a little grumpy with me and Doksan. Or whatever. Okay? You remember that the teaching that came out was using this analogy of earth. So your session got rained on. Okay, there's the stick gouging. Now just notice, let's say, or your body is just not agreeing. Your body just is like, oh, I'm not sitting like that. I can't. You would love to sit on the floor. You can no longer. Let's say, pick your thing. Okay, that's the stick making a scrape. Now just notice. Does that scrape sit there as a permanent gouge in your mind stream? Okay? This self imagined as solid, kind of clinging to the wound as part of its identity? Or is it more like the wake in the waves of the water, we said, where that sense of self is softer, more fluid, more porous, but waves of regret or hurt or disappointment, anxiety, fear, depression, sadness, pick your flavor, waves of it. But they do dissipate in time. But rather than it being this isolated thing, it kind of hits everywhere and then settles out. Remember fire, okay? Again, not a candle that gets blown out, but more of like a, I don't know, a tiki torch or something. There's a candle, there's a flame, say. And this flame represents the light of your understanding of no self. It's bright. But still, if I go through this, it's going to be interrupted. It's going to sputter, but then it'll adjust real quick. There's almost no resistance, but it does get disturbed. But it comes right back. But it does get disturbed, and you can see it. Okay. Then air. Slightly less resistance, can't really see any disturbance. But if you're subtly tuned in, you can feel a little disruption in the air. Subtle, but real and true. And then finally, remember the analogy of space. If I could, and I wouldn't, but if I could go up into space, and just give this a chuck. Right? No resistance at all. No self. No trace, no gouge, no wave, no wake, no sputtering, no current of any air. Now, mind you, the stick is still there. It's not like the stick doesn't exist. It's a drag to get sick and not be able to do what you like. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to avoid having ill health. Bow to this or suffer. The stick is real. How do you relate to this stick? The truth is space. No self, no resistance, no worry, just free. Do you see? Still, yeah, the cough is there, or the body that won't do what we hope is there, or what have you. But it's the way of relating to it, you see, that becomes the prison, or becomes the freedom, the great freedom, the freedom of the dragon. You know, the dragon in this tradition is like this kind of thing, right? It's not Smaug, the big bad thing. It's a brilliant, noble, agile, surfs the wind beautifully. You know, the Chinese kind of dragon. This is the mind, this of awakening, no problem. Current goes here, it can move. Current goes here, it can move. Not some fixed, smelly thing that hoards treasure. No. That's not the dragon of which I speak. That's not you. You are nimble, you are agile. You can respond to circumstances as they rise. No problem. So how do you operationalize this? How do you get there? Follow the instructions. Do your practice. Now, the main road that we've all been working on together so diligently here for these many days is, of course, Sesshin, Zazen. Okay. And within Zazen, there are many practices, each appropriate to the being practicing them. Do your practice. Don't judge it, just do it. Okay? And you have to play seriously. Okay? It's a joyful effort. It is the play of the gods, the Buddhas. But you have to play seriously. And if you do that sufficiently, you'll end up to where you can seriously play. Okay? You can play those changes. You're like that dragon. Whatever needs to happen, you can just seriously play those changes, man. You can get there. Yes, you can. The Lankavatara, of course, is like the cognitive scaffolding that the experiential component is elucidated by. See, wisdom, paravita, right? This whole Lankavatara is it's a cognitive map, I think. I know, it's a cognitive frame that gives us what we need, actually, to then do the koan, which means actual experience of wisdom. And that can take all kinds of forms, by the way. I'm not just talking about the transmission of the lamp collection of koans or something. Sure, there are the traditionals. You should check them out. They're worth it. We spend a lot of time on this for reasons. But also Tara, also Shikantaza, also concentration, all these things. Whatever the content of your Zazen is that you've been given the practices to do, that is your wisdom practice. Okay. But what if Sesshin is really not the right thing for a person to do? I mean, that can happen, right? This is intense, this thing we're doing here. There are people for whom this is not a good idea, for all kinds of legitimate, real reasons. What about that? Are they excluded? Are they lesser? Think this, and you create a great sin for yourself, which is hard to do in Buddhism, but I'll give it that label. Elevate the self. Don't be doing that. No, dear one, actually, one must really understand and feel deeply the field of merit which is this place. These boards, these grounds, these walls, these now newly sanitized light switches and door handles. This whole space, physically and spiritually, is a field of merit generation. This is the way the tradition talks about this, you see. And if someone's causes and conditions are not at the place where deep wisdom training is appropriate, there's a beautiful and perfect path, which is not in any way lesser. It has to do with contributing to this field of merit. It has to do with sincere, devoted intention. Remember, we talked about that yesterday. See, that sincerity is the main component. Now, if a person's causes and conditions make it such that sesshin is not appropriate at this time, the sincerity is not dimmed at all. Simply the upaya is a little different on the surface. This is offerings. Come to a temple. Put your feet on these boards. Help straighten cushions. Help in the kitchen. Help with the Dharma school for the kids. Be a greeter. Come to the service. Let your mind stream be washed through with the Dharma teachings. Be a part of the magic that we do when the Heart Sutra is invoked and the priest begins their craft. Sit you some. Hear a talk. Engage in fellowship. Have some pasta. It's good. Help clean up. I cannot adequately express the power of this to erode obstacles, barriers, and obstructions to a person's practice. If you do this with sincere heart and a measure of devotion. Look, the world out there is full of churn. This is nothing new. To have the good fortune to be able to come onto this space and contribute and be a part of it, you can't calculate the merit of that. Why? Because you're actually in this field wherein this merit can be received and it is returned. This is serious business. And I've seen it. I have seen this. I have seen this over and over again. It's one of the many reasons why having a temple is so important. You have to create a space that people can come in and be blessed. Not as spectators, but as participants. The blessing comes from contributing of time and effort and intention and sincerity. Capital if you have it. Offer flowers, incense, candlelight, water. Do you see? This is since the Sangha began, since our original teacher first started laying it down. This has been baked into the Sangha, and it's still here today. What makes your practice noble is honestly meeting where you are and then working that edge. That's the thing. And this devotional component. Dear one, there are times when you need to, I really recommend that you ask for help. Now, this might sound strange for some folks coming into Zen training with certain ideas about things based on whatever they've read or what all. My advice, know how to ask Tara for help. Her, the female Buddha. You see her above here. You need to know how to ask for help, okay? You need to know how to ask for help, okay? For as much as Zen puts emphasis on do this yourself, no one can do this for you, and I stand by that. That is the case. Also, you cannot do this on your own. Also the case. There are people in the community suffering in ways that I cannot directly intervene with. So I make a call. And I ask for help. And this is received, and this is subtly answered. And it's a heart thing. This is a matter of the heart. This is not a matter of numbers and logic and data, as we saw. This is a matter of feeling deeply the heart of things. A practitioner who may not be suited at the time for heavy-duty sesshin work, you have your body. Learn to practice that body. The posture of zazen, the posture of gasho, of shashu, the practice of kinhin, the practice of being sick in your bed, unable to move. All of this noble body practice work. Maybe, I would like to be doing rohatsu, but now my trick knee is I cannot walk, I cannot go. Well, you have trick knee practice then. Planning to go, but my dear one passed away. You have grief practice now. This is not something in the way of your sesshin. That is what your sesshin looks like now. Maybe I cannot come to sesshin yet, it doesn't make sense, but your sesshin is to come and help with the flowers, be a part of things, and take yourself seriously. Contribute joyfully. Yesterday, the teaching of nirvana in which there is no substrate left behind is revealed according to a hidden meaning for the sake of these disciples who still cling to thoughts of nirvana for themselves, that they may be inspired to exert themselves in the Bodhisattva's mission of emancipation for all beings. Okay. Now, the transformation Buddhas teach a doctrine of nirvana to meet conditions as they find them, and to give encouragement to the timid and the selfish, in order to turn their thoughts away from themselves and to encourage them to a deeper compassion and more earnest zeal for all beings. They are given assurance as to the future by the sustaining power of the Buddhas of transformation, but not by Dharmata Buddha. Okay. Transformation Buddhas. Okay. They teach a doctrine of nirvana according to the conditions that they find. Transformation Buddha. Buddhas of transformation, teaching a doctrine according to the conditions that they find. This is an aspect of Buddha that shows up in our world, smells the coffee, looks around and says, oh shit, what do we got to deal with today? And makes some calls about what to do and how to do things, and gets their sleeves rolled up and does things. This transformation Buddha is the wielder of upaya, the skillful means. Dharmata Buddha is not that. Dharmata Buddha is unborn absolute suchness, absolute thusness. And it's interesting because if you consider that this Lankavatara is sort of like the root text of which the Heart Sutra and the Diamond Sutra and the Prajnaparamita, let's say, kind of springs from, later we get these terms like Dharmakaya, Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya. That happened a few centuries later. But you can see it nascently inside between the lines here. This Dharmata Buddha that does not give any assurance to the future, that does not create skillful means. Is that just the sort of selfish, jerky Buddha that won't help? No. That's the no-self Buddha, with no one needing any assistance. That's pure suchness, thusness, unborn, absolute, unconditioned mind only. Intervene with who? To do what? Dharmakaya. No self. But there's suffering and there are needs, and we've got to do something here. This is a transformation Buddhas, is the way it's translated here. This becomes Nirmanakaya. This is the body of Buddha that gets its fingers dirty, rolls up its sleeves and shows up. You see. This is the realm of upaya. This is the 10,000 arms, each with a different tool, each with a different approach, each with its own eye, able to see its own situation and meet it perfectly. This way of beginning to see aspects of awakened mind, aspects of yourself, evolved over time. The language evolved over time. The upaya sets evolved over time. You cannot step into the same river twice, as the old saying goes. Sometimes people want the Dharma to just be this fixed thing, which is kind of an ironic wish, is it not? Here, with impermanence as a central tenet, I wish it would just stay the way it's been. Do you see the irony? No. Oh, God, we are such delightful creatures, are we not? People are great. But really, you know, any of the old timers that have been around, I mean, even just this Sangha in a quarter of a century, right? You know, in 2026, our community will be 25 years old. From the beginning of a Mountains and River Order sitting group in the back area of the Aikido dojo in 2001. From that moment, when we first set up an altar in the warehouse, I count that as the beginning of this. And think of how many iterations have happened since that moment. I mean, it's been a trip, huh? Evolution, growth, development, integration, stabilization, growth again. Development, integration, stabilization. Oh, and now stay that way forever. No. No. You know what happens to stagnant water. You don't really want to step into a stagnant pool full of slime, do you? No, of course not. You want to step into fresh, new spring water that's flowing and fresh, crisp, delightful, clear, not some stagnant pond. Why this longing for stagnation? Look at your body. Look at your career. Consider your relationships. Anything. Hell, look at your garden or your pooch. What can you point to that doesn't change? Silly goose. And you expect this to stay the same? Ridiculous. And yet, it is the same river. That is true. Oh, yeah. These truths, the noble truths and the path, awakening, this is exactly the same. No difference. No difference. The upaya, well, let's see that dragon move, man. You try to put that dragon in a cage so it stays predictable. Do you want to be in a cage and be predictable? Really, is that what you want? How's that been working out for you? Feel good? If you're honest with yourself? Now look, I'm all about stability and consistency, but I am in no cage. And you putting yourself in a cage is not acceptable to me. It shouldn't be to you either. That is that is nothing. Stability, a vow, is everything. Can you see the difference? I hope so. This bliss body, by the way, this enjoyment body, later the term would become sambhogakaya. Yeah, this trikaya, three bodies. Right? Dharmakaya, no self. Nirmanakaya, the one that shows up and helps things, particularity. Sambhogakaya, greatly underrated. Not acceptable. And sometimes this is called the bliss body, the enjoyment body, and those of us that have grown up in a dualistic religious frame tend to immediately associate that with reward in heaven some other day or something, post-mortem reward kind of thing. Please. Don't do that. It's right here. It's right now. This has to do with the bliss and the delight and the relief of not knowing. The bliss and the delight and the relief of not knowing. The bliss and the delight and the relief of don't know. This is the vast, boundless freedom. This is why the dragon can dance so well. Exactly what is the dragon doing? The dragon doesn't know. Doesn't know a thing about it. Woo, woo. Not, ah, ah. Don't confuse the dragon's mind of not knowing with the shrug, I don't know. That's a worm. That is no dragon. That's not even snake territory. to conclude, the sutra snippet for today, again, let me read it again. The transformation Buddhas, the Upaya, okay, teach a doctrine of awakening to meet the conditions as they find them, and to give encouragement to the timid and the selfish. Timid here, fear, hindrance in the mind. Selfish, trapped in that manas mind, that self-sense discrimination mind taken as the true self. So it's not timid and selfish like throwaway terms in my eye. These are very specific diagnostics. Hindrance in the mind that creates fear. I'm scared to practice. I don't know, that doke sounds kind of scary. Yeah, it is. I'm glad you can tell. That's auspicious. Selfish, it doesn't mean just like hoarding toys in the 5th grade. No, it's talking about being enmeshed in selfness. True suffering. Enmeshed in selfness and afraid to do anything about it. Okay. So these transformation Buddhists teach a doctrine of awakening to meet conditions as they find them and to give encouragement. Courage. Be of courage. Encouragement to the timid and the selfish in order to turn their thoughts away from themselves. I've been gouged. Oh, the waves. And to encourage them to a deeper compassion. A deeper compassion. Bring me a higher love. A deeper compassion and more earnest zeal for all beings. Seriously, consider. Your eye can look up and observe the entire, well, within our limited spectrum, you can see. With the James Webb telescope and Hubble before, you can now actually look and see vast galaxies. Your eye can take that in. And you know that as a plain fact of your direct experience. So too can your compassion include all beings. Yes, it can. Just as easy as you can look at an image from the James Webb telescope and see countless trillions of stars, you can also in your heart hold unnameable, unnumerable beings throughout all space and time. Yes, you can. Sure you can. It's easy. Just do it. Just follow the instructions. They are given assurance as to the future. You know that story of Shakyamuni Buddha, once upon a time, 100,000 lifetimes ago, was a great wielder of magic. He was a very adept magic user. He could fly, he could levitate, he could see into causes and conditions, he could bend things to his will, he could affect the weather. You did not want to piss him off. He could fling pestilence at you. All the cities were his, the mundane ones. None of the ones that matter. The actual spiritual powers that matter, by the way, are all about removing obstructions and obstacles to awakening. But he had the mundane magic. But he heard that there was the Buddha of his time traveling close. And for some unknowable reason, he had a strong impulse to go and see for himself. Good karma ripening from something. And so he did. He took his dreadlocks and his loincloth and he flew over to where this Buddha's entourage was migrating from place to place. And in the very sight of that Buddha's presence, he immediately had some clarity around the dire straits that he was actually in, flinging this magic around like this with no bodhicitta. And so this great, powerful wizard, what did he do? Did he cast lightning bolts to catch the Buddha's attention? Did he clear the sky to make way so that he would be approved of? Did he fly over and hover? No. He walked over there, and as the Buddha was approaching, there was a place where there was mud, and he threw his dreadlocks down so that the Buddha's feet could walk on his hair. He dare not even make eye contact or ask a question or beg for teaching. This was the best he could muster, and he knew it. So that's what he did. And then the Buddha of that time could tell what's going on here. And the Buddha, as his feet touched his hair, looked down and saw into his causes and conditions and recognized the potential and said, I predict you will come to full and complete Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. This is so. And then he kept walking. But that prediction landed, and that set what would become Shakyamuni Buddha on a multi-lifetime odyssey of development, of growth, of maturation, of integration. These are called the Jatkala tales. They're wonderful. They're kind of like Aesop's fables. He's a bunny, he's a deer. So this tale has a very important point to it. In order to turn their thoughts away from themselves and to encourage them to deeper compassion and more earnest zeal for others, they are given assurance as to the future. They are given assurance as to the future by the sustaining power of the Buddhas of transformation, but not by the Dharmata Buddha. Speaking of the Dharmata Buddha, let's conclude by hearing the words of our 49th ancestor, Sui Dao. He put it like this: monks, you should know, now this is here talking about universal mind, Buddha nature, suchness, thusness, that stuff, okay? Monks, you should know that there is someone who is not only speechless, but mouthless. Not only are they mouthless, but they have no eyes. From the beginning, they have not possessed a hair's worth of the four elements, nor of the six senses. Though it is like this, it is not emptiness, nor is it nothingness. Even though you say you see things and hear sounds, seeing and hearing is business. It is not your eyes seeing. It is not your ear hearing. It actually is this faceless fellow doing it. Your mind and body were provided by this fellow. Therefore, the mind and body are not at all created things. If you have not reached this point, then you may think that your body was created as a result of your parents, that your body is the result of karma. Thus, you may think that your body resulted from the union of sperm and egg, or that your body is covered with skin and flesh. This is because you have not thoroughly clarified your true self. In order to get you to know this realm, this true self realm, spiritual teachers, Buddhas of transformation, use unlimited means to get you to put an end to sixth sense clinging. And to just stop everything. At such a time, there is something that cannot be destroyed, something that cannot be crushed. When you become aware of it, it surely cannot be reduced to mere emptiness or existence, nor is it bright nor dark. Therefore, it is hard to talk about whether you are deluded or enlightened. For this reason, this realm is not called Buddha. No mind, no Buddha, a worthy would later say. It's not called Dharma. It is not called mind, not called essential nature. It is nothing but bright light existing brilliantly. Therefore, it is not the light of fire or the light of water. It is just boundless clarity and brightness. Boundless clarity and brightness. You cannot see it, though you try, nor can you acquire it, though you try. It is just alertness. When the three disasters of water, fire, and wind occur, and the world is utterly destroyed, it is not destroyed. When the triple world and its six paths rise again, and the myriad things sprout again profusely, this thing does not change. Even Buddhas do not know what to make of it. Even patriarchs don't know what to make of it. Huh. Even Buddhists don't know.
Gate